Remember back in 2021 when the housing market took off? At open houses, we were all asked to walk in one direction, following arrows on the ground to avoid crowding. Elevators were exempt for some reason. And do you remember when the mortgage rates were being offered for under 2%? Money was literally being printed, and everyone and their grandmothers went out and got a loan. Yeah, those mortgages are expiring. And over the next 12 to 24 months, we're about to find out if those homeowners are stress-tested warriors, or just really lucky people who locked in at the right time and have been avoiding their banking app ever since. Hi, my name is Simon Liu, and I am your friend in real estate here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. I have helped people make smart real estate moves across the greater Vancouver for nearly 2 decades. If you're thinking about making a move, my team and I would love to help. I invite you to send a message using the information below. Let us help you find your happy home. If you've been trying to figure out what happens to the housing market as these ultra low rates finally reset, you're not alone, because depending on who you ask, we're either heading toward a wave of forced selling, a total nothing burger, or a little of both. So let's break it down. What actually happens when these mortgages renew? How are people able to handle the increased payments? And what it means for inventory, prices, and opportunities. And I'll try to explain it in a way that doesn't require a finance degree, because I don't have one either. So here's the setup. During 2020 and 2021, there was a major global event that took place which I do not want to think about ever again. And in order to prevent an economic collapse, the central banks around the world slashed interest rates. This caused lending rates, including mortgages, to plummet, and a huge number of homeowners and home buyers locked in mortgages around 1.5% to 2%, which in hindsight feels less like a mortgage rate and more like a clerical error, as if someone at the bank was trying to get fired. Now, those same mortgages are renewing in a world where rates are a little bit higher. Scratch that, a lot higher. And yes, payments are going up. For some people, it could be a little. For others, they may need to get a second job, or at least have a serious conversation about their Uber Eats habits. And for those commentating on the sidelines, they're about to find out if their prophecies will be fulfilled. But here's the part most people miss. Higher payments doesn't automatically mean people are forced to sell. If it were that simple, there would have been a flood of sales at really low prices. And we haven't seen that, which is awkward for those people who think the market will crash 80%. This is where the Canadian mortgage system quietly did something very unexciting, but very important. They created the stress test. What's a stress test? I'm glad you asked. Gather around and let me tell you all about it. Back in the day, we used to make offers based on the feels. You like the kitchen? The vibes feel right? Let's offer $200K over asking with no subjects. Believe it or not, some people still think this is an acceptable method of valuation. Lending rules were so lenient that anyone can qualify for a mortgage. Then one day, someone in the government asked, if rates went up, can you still pay the mortgage? So, in 2018, the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions introduced a testing standard as a way for lenders to qualify borrowers at a higher rate than their actual rate, in order to prepare them for the worst case scenario. That was how the stress test came to save the day. How it works is the banks qualify you based on the higher of 5.25% or your offered rate plus 2%. This test reduces the amount of money you can borrow compared to your actual interest rate. Let's look at some examples of how this works. If the offered rate is 7%, then the lender uses 7% plus 2% for a 9% qualifying rate. This significantly lowers your borrowing power. But if the offered rate is 2%, then the lender has to use 5.25% to qualify you as the higher rate of the two methods. This means that buyers can afford the home comfortably until rates reach 5.25%.
And that, kids.
How I met the stress test. Fast forward to 2026, we can see that most of these buyers did not qualify at 1.5%. They qualified at rates closer to 5.25%. So in theory, they've already been pre-tested for this moment. It's kind of like practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man.
You know, your coach runs you through some tough drills. You and your teammates complain that it's too hard. And it feels unnecessary, like your coach is personally attacking you. But later, you realize it's the only reason you didn't get completely destroyed on game day. Because the harder the practice, the more prepared you are for the game. Now, does that mean everyone's comfortable? No. It just means most people aren't completely blindsided. Here's why it matters right now, and why it might quietly be pushing the market forward. We are at the point where both methods of the stress test are essentially the same. Need some examples? Let's dig deeper. What if the rate was 3.25%? If we add 2% to the offered rate, then we get 5.25%, which is the same as the stress test rate, approximately what is offered now. For a limited time, you're borrowing as much money as you can qualify for simply because the qualifying rate matches the stress test rate, and that should only help boost the market once everyone figures this out. Okay, so some people passed the stress test and were able to renew their mortgage. But what about those who are up against a wall? Instead of panic selling, most homeowners are adapting. And honestly, humans are very good at this. Give us a problem and we'll figure it out. Or we'll refinance our way out of it. They can delay renovations, cook at home more, and yes, even cancel their Disney Plus subscriptions. Thanks for the financial advice, Christopher Freeland. But this might be the hardest financial decision you have to make. In these volatile economic times, people have become financially disciplined. But more importantly, lenders are working with borrowers to find a solution that fits. Options like extending amortizations to lower monthly payments with a higher rate, which helps those who plan to sell in the short term and just need to make ends meet until then. Blending rates works for those who renewed earlier than expected and got stuck with higher rates. By blending with a lower rate that's offered today, they are able to average it out and come out slightly ahead. Or taking advantage of the no stress test rules by negotiating lower rates with multiple banks at renewal. What are no stress test rules? As of November 21st, 2024, the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions removed the stress test when a borrower is renewing their uninsured mortgage and wants to switch banks, provided that the loan and amortization are the same. This is aligned with the rules that were in place for insured mortgages, basically stretching the mortgage out to make payments manageable. It's not always pretty, but it will get you through the lean times. It's worth mentioning again that if people are truly forced to sell, there would be a flood of sales, not listings, right? So you have to be wondering by now, if people aren't rushing to sell, where is all this inventory coming from? This is where things get interesting, because what is being reported as homeowners being forced to sell because they are unable to afford their mortgages is not exactly true. Some homeowners will sell regardless of what type of market it is and what it's affecting the market. The reality is, life doesn't make decisions based on mortgage rates. People change jobs. Divorce happens. You might need to relocate for various reasons, or just deciding that the variable rate mortgage wasn't a smart financial decision. This is not a massive forced wave of selling. Instead, inventory is gradually rising due to homes not selling in 7 days like the good old days. It's a slow increase, not a sudden spike. This is actually good for buyers while it lasts. It creates a more balanced market where buyers have more choices, sellers face more competition, and pricing becomes a little more grounded in reality. I know, wild concept. So, the big question is, what happens when the cycle ends? What is going to happen when the last of these low-rate mortgages are finally renewed? When is that reset wave behind us? Ironically, that's when uncertainty starts to decrease. Because right now, the market is dealing with a giant question mark. Once everyone has adjusted and payments are known, financial positions are clearer, and the system stabilizes, the market stops bracing for the worst and starts behaving normally again, which in real estate terms means slightly less dramatic headlines. That is probably terrible for the media, but fantastic for everyone else. What this means is there's a small window opening now, but most people won't notice it until it's finally closed. During this transition period is where opportunities tend to show up, because you've got some motivated sellers who had to clean their home for strangers to visit for 10 minutes every week, more inventory than we've ever seen in years, and buyers who are still a little hesitant. This combination doesn't last forever, and it's already showing signs of wearing off. Seller fatigue, where homeowners are no longer willing to budge and are content with staying put over selling at a low price, is becoming increasingly evident. Inventory levels are tapering off as homes are selling or coming off the market. Buyers are losing patience with the crash that never came and are starting to jump in off the sidelines. Rates coming down to a reasonable level where people can comfortably afford to pay their mortgages. In times of uncertainty, most people choose to wait, including, historically, me. So, what's actually going to happen as these mortgages renew? It probably won't be a sudden crash, but it won't be nothing either. More like a slow adjustment that's already been happening quietly in the background. Some people will feel pressure, most will adapt, and the market will gradually find its footing again, which is less exciting than the headlines, but also less likely to bring you to financial ruin. If you're trying to figure out what this means for your situation, whether you're renewing, buying, or just watching all of this like a viral Netflix series, we can help you with that. Your first step is to email me at info@happyhomesvancouver.com or send a text message to 778-688-6838, and let's help you get settled into your happy home. If you found this video helpful and want to see more of it, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel or share with a friend so that you can help us help more people. In the meantime, check out our video on trends in the Vancouver real estate market right here on this channel. We'll have the link for you in the show notes. Again, my name is Simon Liu, here to serve you here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.